All right, well, let's go straight away now to attorney and CEO of media watchdog Honest Reporting, Dan Pomerantz.
Thank you, Tracy.
Well, pleasure to have you, Dan. Now, we know that criticism of the move to unilaterally expand over parts of Judea and Samaria has been jumped on by European officials, and their argument is that it violates international law. Does it? Tell us a bit more.
Well, you know, international law is not American Idol. It's not determined just by a popularity contest. There's actual law involved. In this case, the law is Article 47 of the Fourth Geneva Convention as interpreted through cases throughout history. The way the law works is that if you are violating the sovereignty of a sovereign nation, then you're not allowed to annex. So the obvious example would be Hitler marching on Poland, or more recently, Russia in the Crimea. But there are other examples that are legal. One example would be the Cook Islands off the coast of New Zealand, which is closer to your territory. And in that case, you had British residents who were British being governed by British law, and the annexation didn't violate any territorial sovereignty, but just gave additional rights to the people living there. So international law can work in both ways. In this particular case, we're talking about areas that are predominantly Jewish, that are already under Israeli control, and that are understood that under any future peace plan would end up becoming a part of Israel. It doesn't violate any sovereign nation, so as international law stands, it wouldn't technically violate.
Right, well, as it stands, we haven't seen the final copies of the maps, and we're only hearing, at least at the beginning stages, what we might expect on July 1st is at 3%, those bigger, more populated areas of Judea and Samaria.
That is correct. We haven't seen the blocks. I'm speaking based on what we understand from the leaks.
Right, certainly. Now, it might be then, if it's perfectly legal, a very unpopular move, and we're hearing how unpopular it is, not only from European officials, from perhaps Arab officials, the same kind of likely players that we always hear, whether we're being also told by other sources that this might be what we're hearing publicly, something else is being said behind the scenes. So then how do those that, you know, when we're having to make unpopular decisions, how are those in support of that defending the move, other than looking at the legality of it?
Yeah, well, of course, this is a very contentious topic, even among Israelis, and Honest Reporting doesn't take a position. M.K. Michaeli very elegantly stated the case against it. The case for it, from what I've been hearing from my sources, is that up until now, Palestinians have kind of gotten a free pass every time they want to not come to the table or deny a peace deal. And for 25 years, they've been able to push off peace and get increasingly better deals. This is a change in the paradigm where, for the first time, Palestinians would actually pay a price for not coming to the table. The argument for that is that could potentially encourage Palestinians to actually come and close a peace deal in a way that they haven't in 25 years.
When you look, though, when you scan the media, you see most articles really turn to this condemnation against the move. So how do those who support it take hold of the narrative then to support that?
Well, the way to take hold, if one is in favor of this, would be to say, look, this is a way to achieve peace. What the Europeans and the Arab world have been promoting so far hasn't worked for 25 years. It's time to try something different. Einstein said, I think it was Einstein, that the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If creating a real disincentive to stay away, a real a punishment for not coming to the table can make peace possible, then it's absolutely worth it, because it could result in peace. Very
briefly, we did hear the UAE ambassador to the United States had an op-ed published in Yediot Ahronot. How significant is this? Of course, we heard him warning Israel against making this move because of the strides that it's made in terms of its cooperation with Arab nations.
Well, certainly hearing an Arab leader speak in an Israeli newspaper is a huge step. It's a sign of engagement, of desire to engage. The question is whether the warnings he's making will really come to play. The Arab world, including Jordan's treaty with Israel, benefits Jordan as well. The Arab world is trying to ally with Israel because it helps protect them against Iran. The question is, would all those countries give that up simply to make common cause with the Palestinians? We've heard similar talk when the U.S. Embassy move happened, and as we've seen, it has not resulted in those things. That said, anything's possible, but it is still an open question, I'd say.
Absolutely. Dan Pomerantz, thank you for that insight.
My pleasure, Tracy.